We are live. Let's go live. Yes, remember that. Back into the, we are live. Welcome back. Happy New Year. I hope you're all rested. I need to tell you that education, finance, and health insurance all rest in this committee. So we are going to have a very interesting year. I wanted to do more time just going through and seeing what your goals are this year, but I don't think we're going to have enough time to really get into things because we are meeting with Ways and Means at 115 in room 11. There are changes that were made in the big beautiful bill have impacted our corporate taxes. And so we're going to go get a presentation. I know Ways and Means is thinking about writing the corporate tax bill, and since they rewrote the corporate taxes 2 or 3 years ago, I'm more than happy to have them start with it. But we should know what we're dealing with. Nolan was coming in on Friday to talk about changes in the provider impacts that will have here. As soon as we can set it up, hopefully next week, we're going to meet with Ways and Means again to go over. The report is in on second home tax. And if you haven't read it, read it, and Charlotte can get you a hard copy.
Yeah, that's what
if you want it. And the other one that is in is the district redistricting work task force. What do we call you? That's right, task force.
School district redistricting.
They have a report in. We will go over that too because it will affect spending. I've got Julia coming in to talk to us about the Ed Fund and where it is and what its outlook is. We're going to be doing just a basic foundational work this year, I think, or this week or two. And we will see where that goes. We will know more what the governor is thinking, I hope, after his address tomorrow. If not, we will have to wait for the budget. The Committee on the Future of Public Education has also come in with its report. I don't think there's really anything relevant to this committee's jurisdiction. The one recommendation that was unanimous was that having negotiations for benefits, i.e. health insurance and wages, and having them separated was not working for superintendents or budgeting, because that's where you got to negotiate. And now all we really have is salary. So they would like them put back together. However, there is no agreement as to what level they should be put back together. But that report is also in. At this point, that's as far as my brain is readjusting. Having done 3 Christmas dinners, I need to get it out of the recipes serving routine. But anything here, any of you want to specifically deal with or take up testimony on? Other than the fact that I gather we have problems with the interstate around Milton.
Again?
Was it Milton or the Winooski River Bridge? Or both?
Looking today?
Yeah.
99?
There were two blockages. There were two areas apparently.
If I don't hear it from you, Randy, I'll hear it from my son-in-law, who now knows he has to commute in 3 days a week from Swan. That was a surprise.
Oh, yeah.
So he said to buy a better car than the junker he got for 1 day a week. So anyway,
I mentioned, I think maybe one or before about the article that I wrote a number of years ago. And it was called, what was it called? It was about time, and it was about repetitiveness. And it was about coming in here each year and reliving last year and the year before and the year before. Time is something we don't talk about very frequently, but in everything that we do, to me, time is such an important part that we don't consider. And when we think of things like building houses, it's a classic example in which you have that case in South Burlington, in which it took them 3 years to get approvals and permits. And theoretically, that isn't our jurisdiction, but as we start talking about money and why it costs so much to do things here, that is such an important element that in almost everything we do, we really ought to be paying a lot more attention to it. Time is money.
Efficiency, right?
Not to mention the projects that don't get done.
Yes. Or the projects that people don't start because they know how long it takes to do it in Vermont compared to someplace else, and they move it someplace else.
yeah,
And that also is an issue.
I have had coffee. There are 4 housing projects in Montpelier. Proposed, approved, and every one of them is under appeal by neighbors. So every one of them, one is Washington County Mental Health is building, their property, want to build 3 single family homes.
Mhm.
And they can't. Yeah. Mission window,
It's the permissions, but it's also
It-
the organizational structure
yeah,
and methodology in which things take forever here and
Yeah.
compared to other places.
Sure, for sure.
And that
Well-
to me is that should be such a high priority with us.
maybe we should sit down and talk with the housing. Or the tension is between housing and natural resources.
Yes, it is.
And
That's a great deal of it, but also the inefficiency and competence.
Yeah.
I think.
and how we do it at the appeals. Process. Okay, not ours, but good to know what our.
And we often start the year the same way over and over. And it's the article, the op-ed that I wrote a number of years ago called Groundhog Day.
Yes,
And that's what the legislature is like.
this year is particularly intense because we tried to do major changes last year. I think we did them backwards. We started talking about merging, which is the most sensitive thing, and not about financing and going to a foundation formula, which will drive some of the hard decisions at a local level. At least in this area, there is a lot of mergers going together. You may end up with a regional high school. I don't know if Spalding knows that there's room for them to get ready to.
Well, we identified in a report, Washington County as an area that's over-schooled.
It is
Not
over
under-schooled,
school.
over-schooled.
It is over school. We don't, Barry is probably as close to a force town, city that we have. We are relatively higher income. But when we buy down the tax rate, we are protecting people from the consequences of their decisions. And wealthier people can hold out longer. But I'm not sure how long people can hold out. Barry's doing away with 2 classroom teachers. And the most, it's population, they say, and they're buying, or 2 specialists.
Well, one of the things that, in terms of things that we can do and should keep in our mind what to do is the word consequences. Because every time we pass a tax bill or almost anything, there are consequences to it, and we sometimes don't spend enough time understanding the consequences. People want to know, how can we avoid the financial situation that we're in? The answer is just so very basic and simple. Stop spending. But people don't want to do that because they don't take enough time to think of the consequences of the consequences both ways. The consequences of not doing something, but also consequences of doing it and doing it the way we're doing it. And we don't spend enough time, I think, understanding that and outlining that.
I have made clear, pro tem, that I am not going through the kind of year we went through last year, where we got that education bill. We had it, I think, for 4 or 5 days. And 3 of those days, we went till 3:30 in the afternoon on the floor. Which means, in actual fact, we probably had the biggest bill that's been done in a long time. 10, 12 hours. You can't do a decent job on something like that in 10 or 12 hours and get it out of here by May 15th. I'm also told that to the chair of Ways and Means. Last year was the worst year I've ever seen, the kind of pressure this committee was under. We're always under pressure, usually to knock out bills, to cross over, and at the end. There's been a few that have taken, but nothing like last year, where things, major things came.
Do we have an agreement to follow the crossover rules this year concerning those?
Oh, we always get agreement.
Yeah, well, I think last year from the
That's right. Okay,
There
we
was-
need to be down there.
understanding from the get-go.
I-
Yeah,
And I tried to make that clear. It registers. It all back me up. And we will get that.
Yeah.
And then make sure we have adequate time. Because it is going to be a very